be doing an entire class just on self-massage, myofascial rolling, as well as foam rolling. So if you don't have things to roll on, this probably isn't the class for you. I'm going to be using 2 lacrosse balls, but any kind of like ball that's like a little more squishy would be actually a little better than the lacrosse ball. Lacrosse balls are pretty hard. Unless you want to get really deep in there, I wouldn't recommend them. I would recommend something a little softer, like a yoga tune-up ball, or if you just search on like Amazon for pinky ball, like PINKY balls. I think they're just like bouncy balls, but they're about the right squishiness level, and they're really cheap. They're like $1 or something. And then the other thing you're going to need is a full-length foam roller. So if you don't have a full-length foam roller, you may be able to get away with doing like, if you have a half one, like a half size, that's probably going to be okay. You can like replace the second half with like 2 blocks or something like that. But a long full-length one is better. Okay, so we're going to get started laying on your back. And if you want like a towel or something to rest your head on, you can do that as well. Okay, I like to put the balls like on like a little towel or something so that they don't roll away, or just be careful about not letting them roll away. Okay, and then see, they're already starting to roll away. And then you're gonna take your foam roller and put it under your knees. Okay. So once you've got set up on your knee with the foam roller under your knees, you're just gonna come to lay on your back. Right? We're just gonna take a moment to get kind of comfy here. Okay, to settle in. Right? If you do have a blanket or a towel under your head, make sure that it's under just your head, not your shoulders. Right? This will allow the shoulders to roll down and under your body. Okay. And then you want to make sure that the foam roller feels comfortable under your knee. So if it's not feeling comfy, you could roll up like another towel and bring it under your heels so that you can take some of the pressure off of your heels. Okay. And if you feel like you're a little chilly, maybe grab an extra layer. Okay, we aren't going to be doing a whole lot of movement here. It's going to be just self-massage the whole time. So if you're feeling chilly, then definitely grab like another layer to keep you a little warmer. Okay. And then once you start to settle here on your back, you'll start to invite in a deeper breath. You're inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Nice and slow goes the breath. And as you deepen your breath, notice anything that might be here for you in your body, right? Any sensations arising in the body. And seeing if you can really stay in your body with your awareness, right? Keeping your focus in your body to any sensations that might be there, and to also any quiet parts of the body, right? Maybe parts of the body that don't really speak to you that often. Shadowy places, places that kind of are dormant, right? They don't often complain to you, right? You know your complaint areas probably, but how well do you know certain other areas? Right? Just getting a chance to explore the entire body, noticing parts of the body that maybe don't call your attention that often. Perhaps that's the behind the knees area, right? That spot that's resting on your foam roller right now. The inner elbows, or the backs of the ears. Right? Just little places in the body that you can send your awareness. Just acknowledging, oh, there you are. And breathing slow, full breaths into those areas of the body. And coming back to your breath, if your attention has strayed, notice where it went. It's okay if your attention wandered, that's natural. And just anytime you remember, that's an opportunity to come back with gentleness, right? Non-judgment. There's nothing wrong with the mind wandering. But when you do notice that the mind has wandered, that means that you're now present. Right? That's a chance to notice where the mind went, to get curious. An opportunity to come back to the breath, to stay present. And if you have your own intention or dedication you would like to set for your practice, you can take this moment to honor or acknowledge that. See if you can get the intention to be positive rather than a negative. So rather than saying something like, I want to be less anxious, right? Maybe you can say, I am content, right? Just this affirmation of what you're striving for, even if you're not there yet, right? You're just saying to yourself, I am content, or whatever it might be. And if you're not sure of what intention or dedication you might want to have for your practice, maybe it's just, I am here in this moment. I am here. And slowly, gently, maybe your eyes stay closed. Maybe you softly blink them open as you start to invite little movements back into your body and get really aware of how those movements feel in the body. Right? See if you can stay present like you have been in your body for how these movements create sensation in the body, what things are affected when you move. How is your breath affected when you move? Maybe you're wiggling fingers and toes, maybe you're circling wrists and ankles, maybe you're swaying the head, maybe you're doing something else, maybe you're doing almost nothing. Right? You could be doing next to nothing right now if stillness is what feels best for you. Right? So you're just taking your time here to move in some way. Right? And then as you're ready from here, you're going to remove any blanket or towel you might have under your head off to the side. Okay, we want to have a flat head on the floor, right, so that we can have a really neutral spine, including your neck, neutral. Okay, I'm going to put my therapy balls on top of my blanket so that they stop rolling away. Okay, and then from here, I want you to bend your knees and use your feet to pull the foam roller toward you. Okay, so from here we're just going to lift the hips enough that you can slide the foam roller under your bum. And rather than it being right under your bum, right, because that's kind of stabbing into your tailbone maybe to have it right under your butt, we're going to slide it up a little past the tailbone so that it's right under the sacrum. Okay, it's this flat, wide bone that's above your tailbone but below your spine. If you've gone so high that you're on your spine, it's going to feel not terrible, but it's like your butt starts dipping to the other side of the foam roller. We don't want that, right? We're going to go there in a little bit. But to start, we just want to be on this nice, sturdy, flat bone that is the sacrum so that you can be supported here in this restorative bridge. Okay, so once you've found your sacrum, you're going to roll your shoulders down and under your body, right? Really, you can see I'm actually kind of lifting my shoulders off the floor a little bit to do that. If you have the space to do that, great. Go ahead and do that so you can really pull the shoulder blades like they're going to touch underneath your body there. Okay, it's this little action. My teacher used to say, in an ideal bridge, you could slide a pencil between the shoulder blades because they're so lifted everywhere else. Okay, so from here, you're going to hold the outer sides of the foam roller for support. Okay, this is just to provide stability since it's a rolling surface. You don't want it to slide away. Okay, so you're just grabbing it on either side. And if you have a small one, that's fine. Just grab it on either side the same way. Okay, and then from here, with the shoulders rolled under, we're going to inhale to lift maybe 1 foot, maybe 2 feet up toward the sky. Okay, so you really want to be holding onto that foam roller so that you don't go sliding down. Okay, and we're just breathing slow, full breaths here. If this is feeling like it's like you're too tight here, that's totally fine. You can just keep the knees like a little bent, right? A little more restorative shape. Okay, this is called Viparita Karani. We're just taking a inversion to start to further slow down the systems. And turning everything upside down is kind of, I hate to say a cure-all, because I don't think there's really such thing as a cure-all, but it really does help a lot of things, right? You're allowing your heart to do less work, okay, the blood coming down, and kind of slowing everything down, right? Going upside down slows things down. It's good for anxiety. It's good for a lot of things. It's good for combating gravity. Right? Going upside down, because gravity is working the other way than normal on you. Okay, so if you want to be here for longer, pause the video, because I really would love you to be here for longer if you want to be. Okay, so go ahead and pause if you want to hang out for longer. If you're ready to move on, for those of us who are working here and we're like getting kind of tired of being here, I'm going to move on for you. So we're going to bend one knee at a time and bring the feet back under the knees. Okay, we're just going to take a moment, notice how that feels. Okay, maybe you think about sliding 1 foot away. Okay, see what that feels like for the hip flexor on that side to lengthen that leg. So maybe you're breathing here, maybe that's a lot and you want to come back a little bit with the foot. Maybe you want to try the other leg at some point. Okay, maybe it feels okay to do both legs together. Alright, just make sure you don't feel any pinching in the spine. Right, if you feel any pinching here with the legs straight, then just walk the feet back a little bit. Okay, maybe you do one side at a time. Alright, so we'll be here just for a few more breaths. Slow and full goes the breath. This should feel good. This should feel relaxing. If it doesn't, then adjust, right? Maybe you're just here in your regular restorative bridge, breathing into and around, softening into and around that foam roller, right? So you stay wherever feels best for you in your body here. We're here for maybe just 2 or 3 more long breaths depending on your pacing of your breath. Excuse me. Allergy season. Happy to see the sun though. Alright, so from here we're going to bend the knees, right, 1 foot at a time under the knees. Okay, you're going to start to slide down the foam roller. And if you notice that for most people who haven't done this much, then they can usually roll through the low back, but then once you get to the mid back, it's like so painful that you just can't do it, and that's totally okay if that's you. Okay, that's totally normal. So you can just skip the mid back for a while if that's the case. But basically what we're going to try to do is use your legs, use the hands clasped under your head to slide down the foam roller nice and slow. Okay, you're kind of with your sticky mat, it can be a little harder, but it's also good because it will slow you down. Because what we want is to slow down as much as you can, right? And any sticky parts or tender parts, you're seeing if you can pause there, breathing some slow, full breaths into those tender areas, right? That's telling you, okay, this is an especially tight area for me. I'm going to hang out here. And if you want less, you just lift the butt, lift the hips, right? Kind of engage, and that'll take weight off. If you want more, you're just going to let the butt dip down, right? Invite more of that curve into the spine, and it'll invite more weight into the foam roller, right? So this feels really intense. This feels much less intense, right? In fact, I can even lift off if it's just getting too intense, right? You can always do that. So we're moving down, 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 and then at some point, there will be this critical point at which your shoulders lift up, right? And this is where a lot of people are like, no, I can't be here. And that's okay, right? If that's the case for you, you can just kind of skip that, slide straight forward and skip that mid-back part, right? You can also, if it's just too hard to slide over it at all, right, other than doing that, you can just come off, right? Bring the foam roller up and over your head and come to rest with the head on the foam roller instead, right? We always want to keep the interlace of the hands behind the head, no matter how you're kind of getting to this point, because you want to keep the neck supported, right? We don't want to be straining the neck by constantly lifting the head, right? We want to use our strong arms to lift the head instead. So the head stays heavy, the neck is doing very little work, and you're using your hands to lift you up. Okay, so if you're coming from above, again, the more you lift the hips, the less intense it will feel. The more you lower the hips, the more intense. You can kind of take weight off when you are so far, like when I'm like on the edge of the foam roller like this, my hips down feels less intense, but as you come up, it will feel more intense to roll over it, right? And so if you want less intensity, what you can do is hug the elbows and lift the head. If you want more intensity, you open the elbows, you drop the head. Okay, so if you're working from your mid-back, you can be doing this as well, or you can be moving like this from head and down now. Okay, so you see what feels best in your body, how you want to do this. And I do recommend to kind of pause in little tender areas you notice, to come up and then to roll over, right? Rather than just holding in this most intense expression, it's better to kind of come up and down. And it may almost look like I'm doing crunches here, but I'm really not, right? This is the reason for your arms to be moving in this way is that they're doing the work for your head at lifting your head, right? And the dipping down, the opening of the elbows is where you get this massage part, right? The lifting back up is to kind of bring you back out, and it's better to move through this initially with movement, right? Some dynamic opening rather than just holding. Okay, it's a little better for you to ease into it in this way. Right, so we just continue to move down the spine now. In my case, maybe for you it's up the spine, right? And you may find that you're starting to roll off of your foam roller or off of your mat, and if that's the case, you can kind of adjust, right? Start at some whatever end of the mat you need to, so that you can roll over. Okay, so again, just lifting and dropping the head through some dynamic movement to start. Again, lifting the hips will feel less intense. Dropping them down will feel more intense. Lifting the head less intense. Dropping the head more intense. Right, so we'll just move down or up the spine. And if it's just too intense, if you get to a point at which you're not breathing, then don't go there, okay? Make sure that you're breathing. Your breath is actually a great cue, right? Your breath is telling you where your edge is. Don't go to a place that's past your edge, right? Past your edge would be stopping breathing. Okay, you want to be continuing to breathe. And if you notice that your breath is shallow, maybe that's your edge, right? Maybe you've even pushed a little past your edge if your breath is shallow, right? It's okay for you to feel some discomfort, but pain is definitely not. There's kind of a point at which you're just gonna be injuring or doing too much, right? So especially if you've never done this before, just go easy on yourself, right? You don't have to go to like max discomfort even, right? You can hang out in more like delicious feelings instead, right? Hang out where it feels good, especially the first time you're doing this. Okay, then you can kind of play with your edge more. All right, so maybe we're still rolling here. Okay, we can do a little bit more of that. And if you are like really loving this and you want to keep doing it again, you can pause the video, keep going, and then start again. But we're gonna move on now. So maybe you're sitting forward, maybe you're lifting your hips and coming off, depending on which direction you are moving from. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is take your long foam roller and bring it lengthwise on your mat. And for this, again, if you only have a half foam roller, you can have 2 blocks. Make sure that the blocks end up closer to your bum, because we do want the rolled part to be where your head is. Okay, so we're going to sit on the edge of your foam roller or your blocks. Ideally, you have a foam roller for what we're doing next, a lengthwise one. Okay, and you want to make sure you're on the edge, because what we want is for when you lay back to be able to rest your entire length of your spine on it. For those of us with a really long torso, it may be the case that you need another thing under, like your block, but full-length foam rollers are quite long. I have a really, really short torso. Even I'm a short person and I have a short torso, so you can see I have lots of room on both sides. So for most people, it should be fine, right? As long as you have your head rested and your tailbone rested, right, a whole length of the spine, then you're fine. Okay, if you need like another block down below, you can grab one. Okay, so from here we're going to make sure we're centered on the foam roller and on your mat, so you can grab outer edges of the mat to make sure you're in the center. Okay, then you're going to kind of shimmy those shoulders out and under again. And then we don't have to, it's okay to have this curve in the low back, right? I can reach my whole arm out underneath, and that's fine, but maybe just bump the tailbone slightly away. I don't know if you saw that action, so I was here and I bumped it just so it's a little more neutral, right? Not tucking, right? If you tuck, then the low back presses into the floor, and for certain things you need to do that, but not here, right? You can just let that natural curve be there. Now you can see I can still get my hand, but it's a little more squished, okay? So from here, roll your shoulders down and away from your ears, right? Allow the arms to come up to the sides. Maybe move anything that's in the way out of the way, okay? And you're gonna pause for a moment here with the arms at your sides. You're gonna just do little angels to start. Right? Your feet can be planted wherever feels most sturdy. I like to have them just like right under my knees, about hip distance. Okay, and we're just moving through these snow angels to start to get warmed up a little bit. Okay, you're trying to get the backs of your hands, backs of your wrists on the floor. If you can get your elbows on the floor at any point, do that too. Okay, and we're coming all the way up if you've got the room to, and all the way down by your hips if you've got the room to. Again, trying to stay in contact with the floor as long as you can, and trying to really slide, right, as much of the backs of the arms as you can on the floor, right? Ideally, you can hear yourself sliding on the floor, right? If you have a watch, a ring, a bracelet, take those off so that you can really focus on just sliding as close to the floor as you can with your arms, right? And not worrying about scuffing up your floor or dragging that piece of jewelry along the floor, because you really want to try to touch as much of the backs of the hands, including the backs of the thumbs, to the floor, right? Backs of the thumbs, backs of the pinkies, right? All the way to the floor the whole time, right? For most of us, I think probably, I don't know anyone who has told me like, oh, this is easy, I don't feel any crunchiness, I don't feel any tension. For most of us, this is, you're feeling something, right? So maybe you just keep doing this for a while depending on how intense this feels, right? If this feels really intense, you might just do this and nothing else. All right, we're not going to move on to the next level of intensity if this is already like, whew, I'm having trouble breathing, I'm having to like really focus on my breath and slow my breath, right? You want to be trying to keep the breath slow and steady. You want to try to be relaxed here, right? So if you're like already just seizing up here, then hang out here, keep doing this, and you maybe just listen to this next part. All right, for those of you who are like, I'm pretty open in my shoulders, this is feeling a lot better now that I've been doing a few of them. Okay, you're gonna come to your arms at a T shape, and you're gonna check right and left, see if you got your hands at about your shoulder height. Okay, once you have checked that, you're gonna bend the elbows. You're gonna see if you can keep the backs of the hands on the floor, but bend the elbows like almost down by your hips, right? So they're a little lower than your shoulder height, but your hands stay about shoulder height, okay? And then you're gonna extend back out, right? We're just making W's and then extending. A W and then extending, right? You're gonna hug the elbows into, hi kitty. You may see some cat appearances. They're active this morning. You may see you may feel that your elbows are kind of hugging like weirdly in, right below your shoulders, and your wrists lift when you come to the W, that's fine. And then just try to make sure you extend all the way out to straight arms if you can at the end of that lengthening, right? So W to lengthening. All right. All right. So from this, if W's, this is called neurogliding, right? I learned this from a PT who works with climbers as well as other. This is also really good if you're doing a lot of computer work. Okay, it's good at chest opener. All right, so maybe you stay with the W's, right? I always say if like something is providing you like really intense feedback, like, whoa, this is really challenging me, then that probably means you need to do it more, right? If you feel pain, then don't do that. But like most things that are like, whoa, this is really intense, that means you're kind of needing more of that, right? Okay, so maybe you keep doing your W's if you're like, this is like the new like hardest like thing that I've tried. Okay, or maybe you move on to these other things, right? So what I'm doing now is turning my wrist down, right? Kind of turning this is internal rotation, right? And then I'm just gonna move through. So now my hands are kind of hovering so that I can have space to turn my wrist down, but what I'm doing basically is almost like two movements, right? I'm moving up through the different angles of the shoulder, but I'm also turning the wrist down, so what that does is actually internally rotate the shoulder, and I'm also feeling it in my elbow. You may feel it in your elbow, you may feel it somewhere else. Right, so you can just move up and down, and another thing to kind of do is like lengthen the fingers away as you reach, so that's like getting this extra, I'm trying to, like, the PT that I learned this from, they called it passing the tip, so they showed me initially not on the foam roller, so it's almost like you're trying to pass something to someone behind you, which in this case is into the floor, so it makes less sense, but if you can imagine like extending the fingers down toward the floor, like you're passing something to the floor. Yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I can definitely feel the difference in like extending down as opposed to just like turn, right? Like doing this like active fingers, like reaching and trying to pass something does seem to make a difference. So try that. Humor me. So if this one is feeling like it's doing a lot of good stuff, you can keep doing this, right? Another one is to bend the elbows here, almost like you're gonna grab your shoulders and like lift the elbows up, right? And then we come back down, okay, to arms at your sides, right? So it's a bend of the elbows, a lifting of them up toward the wall behind you, and then back down. Okay, so maybe that one feels the most intense. What I want you to do is try all three, the W's, the passing the tip action, right, and then this this movement, which doesn't have a name, but maybe if you have an idea for a name, you can write a comment and let me know what you think this one should be called. Right, it's like Tadasana to elbows lifted or something. I don't know. Okay, so try those and see which ones feel the best to you. Maybe you're just still doing your angels, or maybe like cactus elbows, or like goalpost elbows, which is about a 90-degree bend in the elbows and then going up to straight, and you want to try those. Okay, really just playing at this point, right, with whatever feels best to you, doing any kind of movement here in the foam roller. And the goal really is to move through your shoulders, to get the shoulders to stay away from the ears, down over the foam roller, shoulder blades pinching toward each other there on the back body as you move through these shapes, right? So you're trying to keep your shoulder alignment the same, right, with the shoulders down, even as you kind of rotate them around, right? All right, enough of that. So we've been here for a really long time, so we just got one more thing I'm going to show you. You're going to bring the arms back up to that T shape with the hands at shoulder height. Okay, you're going to check right and left again, see if you got shoulder height of the arms. Okay, and then from here, we're going to just roll a little bit to one side. So in this case, I'm going to roll to my right so that you can see my left side. So I'm rolling almost like I'm going to roll off, but I'm still on the foam roller, right? I'm just kind of like leaning. And then you're going to lift the wrist and point the fingers toward the floor. Right? Lift the wrist, pull the fingers toward the floor. Okay. You should feel that. I feel it like along the entire length of my entire arm and up into my chest. I even feel it in my palm. You may not feel it in so many places depending on where you are holding tension. Okay, and then you're going to roll the other way, same thing. Excuse me. Alright, so you're rolling to one side and you're lifting the wrist. Right, and even though you're lifting the wrist and pointing the fingers toward the floor, you're not necessarily touching the fingers to the floor. Right, this is more like a lift of the wrist than anything. Okay. And so if that felt really good, maybe you do one more each side. Okay. So all of that you could just do, like, while watching TV or something. Maybe the TV would be better on your ceiling. I don't know. No, I think you could do it. So, from here, you're going to roll to one side off your foam roller. Come to a seat. Okay. You're going to move the foam roller off to the side for a moment. And you're going to grab those therapy balls. Okay. And you're going to bring them under your piriformis. Okay, it's a flat, or it's like kind of outer upper butt. Okay, it's right here on me, and it's kind of hard to explain where it is, so I'm gonna try. But basically, this is the top of my hip bone here, and this is my piriformis. And to get the ball there, I'm actually not leaning, not lifting. I'm just in like a setup for bridge with my butt on the floor, and I'm just pushing the ball right, like kind of wedging it right under there. Okay, so again, this is the top of my hip, and this is my piriformis right where the ball is. So the way that you'll know is that from here we're going to open to do clamshells. Okay, you're just opening your knee, and if it feels, actually that was a little low. I'm going to try again. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you may need to play with it. It's a lot more outer and up than you think, right? Okay, that's it right there. So this is the top of my hip. Wait, this is the top of my hip, and that's where it is. So it's like actually pretty close to the top of my hip, right? It's outer upper butt. Okay, and you'll know when you roll over it because it's usually pretty tender in most people. Okay, and if you're just like, I don't feel anything, then you can roll on other stuff, right? But I'm going to hang out here for a little bit for those of you who have found it, and if you're still trying to find it and you're just not able to, then you can comment, okay? And I'll try to help you find it. You can also look it up. It's piriformis, piriformus. Okay. What it feels like when I roll over it is it's like a combination of I feel the tightness like all down my T-band almost, and also like in my butt. So maybe that helps. Basically you're just gonna, I like doing one side at a time. I feel that I can really get into it more. But if you want to do both together, you can, that's why I said to have two balls. You can do both together. If this is like feeling really great and you want to keep doing it, then you can keep going. You don't have to move on yet, but if you're ready to move on, we're going to do the other side, right? Maybe I'll flip around and give you a second opportunity to try to see me find it here. Basically what I do is just slide it and then open, and then if I feel like I found it, and it's not like one little tiny area, right? You can like adjust and like, so both those areas that I just was, like right here, as well as right here, are both quite tender and both feel like the piriformis. So it may be the case that you just kind of wiggle it around a little bit and then do these clamshells, and then you're like, oh, okay, this must be it. Then that feels too high now for me. But that feels also like I'm getting it. Okay, so just play around with it. It's more outer than you think, right? It's not under. It's more like to the side than you think. So I'm really not lifted to get it under there. Yeah, it's really on the side. There, I'll stand up and show you. Alright, this is my sacrum. This is my sacrum here. This is my top of my hip bone. And that's where my piriformis is, right there. Okay? So you can keep rolling on that side a bit more. Right? If you just move to your second side. And then we'll move on in just a few more breaths. Right. this gets tight from a lot of sitting. What you want to try to be doing here is breathing, right? Slow, full breaths. Trying to relax. Meet the discomfort with gentleness, right? Holding on and isn't gonna help much, right? So see if you can just like relax your face, relax your shoulders, right? Relax everywhere that you can, and then maybe that'll teach that tight area a little bit more how to let go. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on. From here, we're gonna take the 2 balls together, and if you have like a little bag, sometimes they come in a little bag, like a mesh bag, or like a little drawstring bag, and that can be a nice way to like keep them together so they don't like slide around. But you can do it without. I'm not gonna use one. So basically, what you're doing is you're bringing them to the low back, right on either side of the spine. And what you want to be really aware of here is that you're not on a bone, right? You're not on the spine. Rolling on the bone doesn't do anything, it just hurts, right? So make sure you're not on the bone. And then you're just going to do the same rolling that we basically did on the foam roller, but you're getting a little deeper now, right? And we're just sliding right along those balls. And any areas that you notice that are tight, you can stop. For me, I don't really feel a lot through most of the back. It's just once I get up to the shoulders that I feel a lot more. And that's, so I would, regardless, I think I would focus more on the shoulders. There's just like a lot more going on there. So once you get to about mid-back, like right at the base of the shoulder blades, for the women, that would be like right at your bra line. You're gonna, once you lay back onto that, you'll really probably start to feel some stuff. And you can keep rolling, right? That's definitely a welcome option. You might notice one side is tighter than the other, but what I prefer to do once I get to my shoulders is do one side at a time. Just because it's a little easier to like figure out what's going on, to get into like little detailed areas. And what I also like to do, which is a lot easier to do on one side, is once you find like a tender area, you hang out for a moment there and you just do like arm movements, right? And notice how that affects things. So for me, once I get up to like upper shoulder blade, like right where it like right where the wing is, basically, right where the base of the shoulder blade is, then it really starts to make a difference to do these arm movements. Okay, so you want to position it, right, and then maybe your arms just going up and down, right? That can be really intense, right? Another thing you can do is kind of lean to the side, right? So it's on my right side right now. So you can lean, right, get on your, like the side of your hip a little bit, and then bring your elbow to the cactus, and just do like this way movements. And again, this is once it's around the shoulder blade, right? Because before that, you're not really gonna get a whole lot, but you can try these. You can try just being on your back and doing these, right? You can also do these, just moving around. And I really do like to do one side at a time, but if you wanted to do two together, then you can. And you can see I'm starting to like screw up my face and get like, you know, tender areas. And what you really want to try to do is soften, right? Breathe. Relax your face. Let me see if you can calm down a bit in that shape, and spend 3 to 5 breaths in each area, and then just move on, right? Spend like at least at least 2. If it's really intense, you can move on after 2. But try to spend 3 breaths minimum, but 5 breaths maximum in each area. That's just approximate, right? But the point is that you want to hang out a little bit to try to release, but you don't want to hang out for so long. I'm moving now. So if you haven't moved away from an area, go ahead and move, right? If you haven't, you don't want to spend more than about 5 breaths there because it's not necessarily helping, right? You can come back to areas that feel tender, but it's not necessarily helpful to just hang out and be in like excruciating. Well, hopefully it's not excruciating, but yeah, you don't want to hang out in that discomfort forever in one spot, right? You want to move on. So I'm going to my second side, mostly because I like doing both together when I get up closer to the top of the traps. The traps are a big muscle that runs all the way up your shoulders and then down in between your shoulder blades. So most of what we're rolling right now is the traps. All of this arm movement, right? Base of the shoulder blade up. And again, you can hang out, right? You can hang out. Like, I just felt that I could get some release from having my arm up overhead. So I'm just breathing like 3 long breaths into this area, right? Trying to soften, and then rolling up to that next little spot, and then breathing again. 3 long breaths. You can play with the arm movements. You can be like, oh, okay, like when my arm is like this, like then I really feel it, so I'm gonna breathe here, try to soften, right, and then you can move on. And again, I like to do one side at a time. You might find that you like both sides together, that's fine. And lacrosse balls are really, really intense, so I would recommend getting a tennis ball is fine too. They're a little too soft in my opinion. It's okay if that's all you have, then definitely do it, better than nothing. But those pinky balls are probably they're better squishiness. They're like a little softer than lacrosse balls, but a little bit, moving on if you haven't, a little bit harder than a tennis ball, which is good. You want it to be a little firmer than a tennis ball. Okay, so I've gotten up higher, so now I'm going to move on to both balls together. Again, you might find you still like one at a time here, right? But I find that once I get up closer to the top of the traps, hopefully you can see this. So I'm like right near the top of my traps. Like the tops of my shoulders are here and they're right there. Okay, so once I get here, I like doing both together. And you can see I'm kind of lifting my hips here just so that I can get more pressure into them. This is a really tight area for me. I think it's a really tight area for a lot of people. We tend to hold a lot of our tension here. And so I'm just like rolling up and down. My head is on the floor. My head is totally supported. I'm just lifting my arms in this way to get more pressure, but you could do less pressure by bringing the hands down. Right? I'm just inviting in more weight by resting my arms, but if you wanted less weight, you could definitely drop the hips, have the hands come down. Okay? And then I'm also going to use my hands to just like adjust and make sure that they're ending up exactly where I want them. So just like little adjustments. I just widened them a little bit so that I could get to this other little area of the traps. And again, my head is still on the floor. I'm still rolling with my hips lifted. Right? And so you can roll all the way down here. Right now they're like almost back to my shoulder blades and then back up. Right? That feels really good and intense. And another thing that you can do. So I'm just like continually widening them because the traps are this T shape, and so they run all the way along and then down in between the shoulder blades. So I'm just getting into each little part of that top of the T, right, like a capital T. So I'm just continually moving them out further to get to each of those areas. So the problem with this, doing it on the floor, is that you are on the floor, right? Your head is in the way, kind of, right? The head is supporting you, but it's also in the way, right? So you can get into it quite a bit still, right? I'm still able to roll over the tops of the shoulders quite a bit by lifting the hips here, but if this is just not feeling like it's really working very well, another thing you can do is one side at a time, take your ball and find like a corner, right? You need a corner because you need room for your head, basically, okay? So this is taking you into like more of a 3D shape, so that basically you can get, so I'm going to be on this corner so you can see, but basically you want the ball to end up at the top of the shoulder, right? And you have room for your head when you're at a corner, right? Instead of the floor being in the way, now I have my head room here and the ball between the wall and on my shoulder, right? And you can roll in that way. I'm just gonna get my hair out of the way, okay? So you can just roll by leaning, right? And then you can choose the pressure. You can get really specific with exactly where you want it, right? And you can like hang, you know, just soften. And you can also roll down still the length of the body, right, up and down. Okay, that way you can get on top better without the head being in the way. So you're just gonna need like a corner somewhere of a room, or maybe like a door jamb, but you just want to try to have it be like a flat wall as opposed to like bumpy, because it'll be a lot harder to roll your ball along the wall between your shoulder and the wall if there's like scaffolding or like, you know, trim or whatever in the way. Okay, so play with the traps a little bit more if that's feeling really good. And then if you're still on the floor, you can also roll the neck, right, which can be really nice. Okay, you can just place the balls on either side. Again, if you have that mesh bag, that can be nice because it keeps the balls together, but if you don't have one, it doesn't matter, right? You can see I'm still getting good massage here. So I'm just rolling up and down the neck, and this really is okay, right? It should feel pretty good. It might be really tender if your neck is really tender, but again, make sure you're on either side of the spine, not on the spine, right? The two balls are framing the neck bone, right? And you can roll all the way up actually to the base of the skull, right? And that can feel really nice too, right? I have another one for massaging the base of the skull, but you can try, right? I find that kind of getting to the top of the neck is where it feels the best, and it doesn't feel as good to be in the skull because it just, unless you have the mesh bag, it doesn't really stay together as well. So you can try it, you can, like, I'm holding them, and it's kind of, like, you can kind of roll around them, but what I like to do better, if you don't have a mesh bag or the balls are just, like, feeling too intense, is you can come back onto your foam roller, and this time you can scoot to the edge of it, right, so that your base of your head is like at the edge of the foam roller. And what I'm talking about here when I say base of the head is your occiput. So it's this not octopus, occiput, right? So it's your base of your skull. There's like the neck comes up, and then right here, there's this little ridge, right? There's like the big back part of your skull that protrudes, and then there's the base of that, right? And this is what we're massaging. Okay, so you want that little ridge there. You'll feel it. It's like right at the base of that big back of the head, right? That's your occipital lobe. For those of you who know the brain, right? So we're right at the base of that, so that you're at the edge of the foam roller, and then what you can do is just like turn your head side to side, right? And massage. And you can adjust a little bit, see if you slide slightly up or down to really find that base. Like just now, that first one, I was a little too high actually, and then I slid so that it was actually at the base, and now I'm feeling it a lot more. Right, and then a common thing here is that you'll feel like some tension in the jaw, so you can really like release your jaw. Okay, let the mouth hang open even. I find it helpful to open the mouth so that you're really not holding any tension there as you do this, like just letting the mouth hang open. Okay. Alright, so just rolling that head side to side. You can keep doing that if that feels really great. Right? And as you're ready, you'll just roll to one side, come off that foam roller. Right? So we're making our way toward the end of this session. Kind of amazing. It's been like almost an hour already. I have more, but that's okay. Maybe I'll do another one. And you could just take little pieces of this, right? Just do little pieces. The last one that I'll show you is your back up on your, so we'll come back to your back. You have your foam roller under your knees again. You slide the roller under your sacrum again. And this time we're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee. Okay? And make sure the right toes are flexed toward the right knee. So this is like a lifted version of supine pigeon, right? Or figure four. And then you want to keep the right thigh opening toward the floor. You want to keep the left foot on the floor. And you're just going to roll over so that your piriformis is rolling onto the foam roller. Okay, so that's like a nice little hip opener as well as massaging. And if you're like, I don't really feel that much, then another thing you can do is kind of sit on the foam roller and lean back so that your hands are supporting you. And then same thing, and now you're rolling over it like this, right? And for me, I prefer this one, seated. The other one's more restful, and if you're really tight, then maybe that's the one that you prefer. But for me, I like this one more because I can put more weight into this area and really get into it, right? And then you can do your other side. Again, make sure the top toes are flexed toward the knee and the lifted thigh is opening away as you roll. Okay, I know I said one more, but we're going to do one more. Okay, one more for those people who sit a lot. I just want to give you one for the front body. Okay, you can do this with your foam roller, but I like it better with the balls. You're just going to put them on your hip flexors. Okay, they're right kind of where your hip flexors are just right here in front. Okay, you'll know when you found them. It's not your quads, right? Your quads are down here. Your hip flexors are kind of like right where the leg attaches to your torso. Okay, so you're just gonna bring the balls under that. Okay, and again, you can adjust them to see how this feels. You can, you should be in basically Sphinx, so you're on your forearms, right? And your toes can be untucked, but you can also tuck them so you can kind of like roll, right? It's a little easier to move around. And also don't forget to roll right to left, right? And that's the case with any foam rolling that you're doing, is to make sure that you're not only rolling the length of something, so like the length of your leg or the length of your arm or lat or something, but you're also rolling laterally, right? So right to left, right? Don't forget about that direction. Okay. Alright, so again, if you're like, wow, I need to massage my hip flexors more, this feels really intense, then keep doing it, right? You can pause the video one last time. Keep doing it. Okay, if you're ready, we're gonna come back to our backs. Okay, to just rest and let all of that integrate. Okay, so you're gonna extend arms and legs long, or maybe your knees stay bent. Maybe your blanket comes back under your head, or maybe you lay something over your body if you want the added warmth. Okay, we won't be here for long. We're just gonna take a moment to see what's happening. Right, it's good to let all of that integrate. So you're rolling the shoulders down and away from the ears, allowing the eyes to close, softening the eyes deep into their sockets, noticing the body, noticing what's happened, sensation in the body, noticing how your breath is now, allowing all of that to be absorbed by your body, all of that self-love. Slowly, gently coming back from wherever you may have gone. Wiggling fingers, toes, circling wrists, ankles. Reaching your arms up overhead when you feel ready. Bend your knees, roll over to one side. Using your lower arm as a pillow, take a moment to come back to that intention or dedication you may have set, or if you didn't have one, perhaps you send gratitude to the earth for supporting you. And then on your next inhale, use the strength of your arms rather than your back to lift you up to a seat. Perhaps sitting up on something. Shoulders roll back, hands come to your heart. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, bow your chin to your chest. The light within me sees, honors, and reflects the light within you. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to comment or email if you have my email, any questions you might have, and I hope this helps.